I'm very passionate about this story. I've written about this for Maclean's 3 times, and I've covered this story many times because I think this is one of the great injustices in our country. And it is the story of Soleiman Faqiri. On December 4th, 2016, a mentally ill man named Soleiman Faqiri was incarcerated in the Central East Correctional Centre in Lindsay, Ontario. The prison knew he had a mental illness. He was put in solitary confinement. 11 days later, after an altercation with prison guards, Soleiman, or Solly as his family knows him, was dead. For months, his family agonized waiting for answers. Who was involved in the incident? Were any guards suspended? Will anybody be charged? There was silence. Silence, 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 silenced. Finally, they received, we have concluded there's no grounds to exist to process criminal charges against anyone who is involved in Mr. Faqiri prior to his death on December 15th, 2016. His family has agonized. We've covered this story extensively. CBC's Fifth Estate just did a documentary about this story as well, and they aired it. Here's what the Fifth Estate said, and they spoke to Sam Faqiri, one of Solly's brothers.
Genuinely just a good heart, always try to do the best when he could. But unfortunately, it's mental illness has a way of taking a toll on people.
Now there's a break in the case. The case has now been reopened. Ontario Provincial Police have reopened the case because of this documentary and pressures by the family. And it is always my honor to bring on Soleiman's brother, Yousef Faqiri, who has tirelessly worked for justice on behalf of his brother and has been sending me notes for 2 years. And Yousef, welcome back to the program, sir.
Good to be here, Evan.
Tell me about the break in the case. What has happened that the OPP has reopened the investigation into the death of your brother?
Well, Evan, there was an eyewitness to the killing of my brother, Mr. John Thibault, that came forward. My understanding is that the Quarter Lakes Police Service did not interview Mr. Thibault. So.
Now, John Thibault was interviewed in the Fifth Estate documentary. He was in the cell across from Soleiman, and here's what he told the CBC.
There was a smaller guard. Now, when he heard the other inmates freaking out, what I noticed is, I was sitting there, I was watching, he had a knee on Soleiman's neck. Soleiman's not moving, like I said. He has a knee on his neck, and he's yelling, "Stop resisting, stop resisting." He wasn't moving at all.
If someone asked you what happened to Soleiman in there, how would you describe how he died?
They beat him to death. Like, I don't know how else to describe it at all. There's no other answer. They viciously beat him to death.
That is what the inmate John says. He was in the cell. When you heard that, what was your reaction?
Heartbreak, unjust, unfair, inhumane. So many emotions, Evan. This is a human being that deserved better. A Canadian man who needed help, and they mercilessly took his life from him. And it's not right, and people should be disturbed what happened to him. Everybody in this country should be disturbed because this should not happen to anybody. And my family has been going through a nightmare upon nightmare, and we still continue to go through it. This is not right what we're going through.
You and I spoke, Yousef. For people that don't know the case, he was in for 11 days. When John witnessed this, there were also video cameras. There were video cameras that saw the number of guards. Can you describe what led up to this confrontation that John believes, and that I know you believe, led to the death of your brother? What happened there? What do the video cameras show?
Well, Evan, I have not seen the video camera. What I do know is certain facts is that there was 50 bruises on Soleiman's body. All of them were blunt impact trauma. Both his legs and his hands were tied at the time of his death, and he was pepper sprayed. This is all according to the coroner's office. And the Quarter Lakes Police Service, which for me it's one of the most important and stunning questions, is they closed the case without talking to Mr. Thibault. and they effectively did not charge anybody after a year, after making my family wait. The facts of the case are quite compelling. Is those bruises that my brother endured, none of them were self-inflicted. All were as a result of what the guards did to him, and they decided not to press charges.
It's incredible. When the coroner's report, and I remember writing this story about this, and talking to you about it. Solly was in on December 5th, 2016. Solly was in a prison shower. The staff wanted him to go back to his cell, but according to the report, he refused, throwing shampoo bottles at the guards. I'm going to read from my story, and you tell me. Eventually, according to the coroner's report, Solly calmed down and got out. Video evidence from the prison shows Solly being escorted down a cell block hallway by 5 or 6 guards at 3 p.m. There appeared to be some resistance on the part of the inmate to be returned to the cell, and there appeared to be an episode when one of the correctional officers seemed to strike out at the inmate, the report said, describing the video footage. His ankles and wrists were cuffed. So your brother was cuffed, his ankles and wrists. He was hunched forward. He actually had a hood on because he was smacked after he spat on a guard. They hit him, and they pepper sprayed him.
Twice, Evan. And one of the pepper spray was in his mouth.
Then they said the guards called what's called a code blue, which indicates a staff member is in trouble, and numerous guards are seen running for the cell. Now, people are going to say, someone's texted me, well, how do you believe this convict? I'm telling you what the video evidence showed. No one has been charged here. But it sounds like more than 20 guards were involved in subduing your brother, who was already both handcuffed and shackled and hooded. 20 guards.
Yes. Correct. Yes.
What does that tell you?
Evan, the story in the case is compelling. If somebody texts it's a convict, that's irrelevant in that Mr. Thibault was the eyewitness. And we have the facts of the 50 bruises, the facts that you just articulated. Legs and hands are tied, pepper sprayed twice, had a spit hood. He's defenseless, Evan. He's vulnerable. He's not... What possesses any individuals to endure this kind of pain on a man who's mentally ill, who needs help? This is not acceptable in our country. This is appalling. As Canadians, we should be disturbed. This is one of the greatest injustices that has happened in this country in recent memory. And all my family has had to endure was time and time again without transparency and accountability. We have not been given clear answers. The Kawartha Lakes Police Service, we've been stonewalled since the beginning. This is not right. And what my family is enduring should never happen to anybody, sir. How's
your mother? I know she's been going through hell.
She's not well, Evan. There's days, I just spoke with her today. She's always, most of the time when she calls me, she cries about him. They were best friends. My mother and Soleiman were very close. It's as if there's a piece of my family has gone missing and will never to return. And for my mother, it's extra painful because they would spend the most time together.
What I can't imagine here, and you and I went through this almost 2 years ago, that when the autopsy was performed on your brother, as you said, there were 50 different bruises on his head, his face. Remember, he had a hood on, so they were punching him in his face. He had a hood on. His neck, his upper and lower body. He had a deep laceration, according to the report, across his forehead that appeared consistent with blunt force trauma, but there was no solid conclusion. The coroner said the cause of death is unascertained. Now that they're reopening the case, what do you hope for, sir?
Evan, it's an important step for my family to receive accountability and transparency, but it's an important step. We are hoping, and what we deserve is for criminal charges to be pressed. We are hopeful that accountability will be given to us because since December 15, 2016, this question is why Soleiman was killed under government care has not been given to us. We need accountability. We need accountability for the sake of all Canadians and for the sake of people who are suffering from mental illness. This is not right. These are taxpayer-funded guards. These are individuals who are supposed to take care of my brother, and instead they take his life away. We need accountability, but it's an important step. We're thankful to the Office of the Chief Coroner for reopening the investigation, and it's an important step. But Evan, we will continue to fight back. We will continue to speak out because we do not want another family to go through the pain and horrific experience that we've gone through together.
And Yusuf Faqiri, you know there's always a place here for you. This is a story we've been following for a long time. The case is reopened. How, under government care, did Soleiman Faqiri die? And who's accountable? No answers yet. The case has been reopened. I wish you the very best, sir, and I look forward to our next conversation. Thank you, Yusuf.
Absolutely, sir. All the best. Thank you so much.
Yusuf Faqiri, a very brave man, fighting for justice for his brother.